The auction yard reeked of wet pine and rust. Lanterns swung from crooked posts, their weak light trembling across the dirt ring. Sawdust clung to the ground like old frost, damp and red where the last fight had spilled. Men in rough coats crowded close, hats pulled low, smoke from their pipes mixing with the cold dusk air. A woman stumbled through the gate. Her dress hung torn at the shoulder, dark with blood. A baby lay crooked in her arms, silent, small. Two men shoved her forward. She barely kept her feet. The caller raised his board. Lot 9. Start at 50. The crowd shifted, boots grinding the sawdust. Laughter cut through the quiet. 2 busted for 50, someone barked. 20, another spat. The woman lifted her head. Hair stuck to her cheeks. Mud and blood streaked across her throat. Her eyes searched the ring, slow and dazed. On the far side, a tall man stood apart. Broad shoulders, coat unbuttoned though the cold bit deep. His face stayed still, shadow beneath a wide brim. He watched her, unmoving. The caller waved his stick. 20. Who's got it? 20. 10. A thin voice called. 10. Do I hear 15? The woman swayed. The baby stirred with a small sound, then quiet again. She tightened her grip. The man stepped forward once. A murmur went through the crowd. He said 20. The caller blinked. 20, I have 20. Do I? Done. The man said. The caller frowned. Sir, we done. His voice cut flat, cold as the night. Silence spread. Even the lantern chain stilled. The caller swallowed. Sold. 20. Boots shifted. Someone laughed low. Overpaying. The tall man moved through the ring. No one blocked him. He stopped in front of the woman. She looked up. Her eyes met his, gray and wide. No words. He reached for the baby first. Steady hands, and the child settled against his chest with a faint sigh. Then he held out a rough palm for her. She hesitated. Can you walk? He asked. A whisper. Yes. He didn't touch her arm, only waited. She stepped closer, stumbling once. He caught her by the elbow before she fell. Behind them the crowd muttered. Mountain fool, someone hissed. Won't last a night, another said. He led her through the gate, past the caller who stood rigid and pale. Out beyond the ring the air felt sharper, less sour. He guided her toward a dark horse tied to the rail. What's your name? He asked. Her voice rasped. Mara. He nodded once. Elias. The baby stirred again. Tiny breath clouded in the cold. You alone? He said. She looked away. Yes. No kin. No. He adjusted the blanket over the baby with one hand. You hurt bad. Not deep, she whispered. Just blood. We ride slow. They reached the horse. Elias lifted the child into a sling across his chest, then helped her into the saddle. She winced but stayed upright. He swung up behind her, reins loose. Hold the horn, he said. She clutched the worn leather. Her body trembled against his. The yard behind them sank into darkness. Voices faded, swallowed by pine and distance. For a long stretch, only the creak of the saddle and the soft step of the horse filled the air. Mara finally spoke. Why? Elias kept his eyes on the trail. Didn't like the crowd. That's all. That's enough. She pressed her face into the horse's mane. They'll follow. Not tonight. How do you know? Because they're cowards. Silence again. The woods closed in, branches arching overhead like black ribs. You got place? She asked. Yes. Far. Far enough. The baby made a faint cry. Elias shifted the sling gentle. Hungry? Yes, Mara said. We'll stop soon. The trail narrowed. Hooves sank in soft mud. An owl called once. Far off. Mara's voice dropped. They killed him. Elias said nothing. My husband, she said. They said he owed. He didn't. They killed him. The horse snorted, breath white in the cold. They said I owed now, she whispered. Said they'd take the baby first. Elias tightened the reins. Not while I breathe. She turned slightly, eyes searching his face. You don't know me. I know enough. She shivered. Why help? He looked ahead, with a path bent into deeper dark. Some things don't need reasons. Wind stirred through the trees, carrying the scent of wet earth and distant smoke. You always talk like that, she asked. Like what? Short. Hard. Yes. She gave a weak laugh, more breath than sound. Mountain man. Maybe. The baby whimpered. Elias slowed the horse and stopped beside a fallen pine. He swung down and helped Mara to the ground. Sit, he said. She sank onto the log. Elias drew a small packet from his coat and set a strip of dried meat near the baby's mouth. The child nuzzled, found milk from Mara instead. She held the infant close, eyes shining in the faint moonlight. Elias kept watch on the trees. His hand rested near the rifle slung at his back. They'll come, Mara said. Maybe. You're not scared. No. She studied him. The sharp line of his jaw, the quiet in his eyes. You've done this before. Done what? Taken someone. Not like this. What then? He didn't answer. The forest seemed to lean closer, listening. Mara whispered, I don't even know where you're taking us. Home, he said. You have one. Yes. Anyone there? No. She glanced at the baby, then back at him. Why no one? He stared into the dark. Something's burned down. The wind shifted, carrying a low rustle through the underbrush. Elias straightened. Move, he said. Mara clutched the baby, stood quick. They rode again, faster this time. The moon slid behind a cloud, turning the trail black. Elias guided the horse by feel, his breath steady, every muscle tight. After a long stretch, the trees thinned. A cabin rose from the clearing, rough timber and stone chimney. Smoke curled faint from the roof. Elias dismounted, lifted Mara down. This is it, he said. She looked at the cabin, then at him. Why me? He met her eyes. Because you were there. That's all. That's enough. Inside, the cabin smelled of cedar and old ash. Elias set the baby on a thick quilt near the hearth. Mara sank beside the child, her shoulders sagging with exhaustion. Elias lit a lamp. Warm light spread across the walls, catching the scars in the wood. The tools lined neat along a single shelf. You can rest, he said. She watched him, voice barely a breath. They'll come. He looked toward the door, eyes calm, hard as stone. Let them. Outside, the forest held its silence. Inside, only the baby's soft breathing filled the room, and the slow crack of the fire as the night settled around them. The auction yard hadn't emptied. Lanterns still burned low, casting long red streaks across the sawdust. Coins clinked on a table where the caller stacked his pay, each ring sharp as a hammer strike. Elias knelt beside Mara, knife flashing once as he sliced through the rope binding her wrists. Fibers fell away in a limp coil. She jerked back, rubbing raw skin. Don't touch me. I'm not. You just did. Had to. Didn't ask you. Didn't need to. She spat blood onto the sawdust, a dark smear against the pale wood. Her voice cracked but held iron. My name's Mara. Not Lot 9. Not $20. Elias sheathed the blade. I know. You don't know a damn thing. I know enough. The crowd edged closer, hungry for spectacle. Boots scuffed, whispers hissed. Mara stood unsteady, chin high. They think I'm yours now. They're wrong. Prove it. He met her glare. Walk with me. Where? Out. That's not proof. It's what we've got. The caller eyed them from the table, coin still chiming in his hand. You leaving, stranger? Elias's gaze cut to him. Count faster. The man swallowed hard and looked away. Mara crossed her arms though her wrists trembled. You think buying me sets me free? Not buying. Elias said. You handed him money. I paid to end it. Her laugh was sharp. Same thing. No, he said. You walk out on your own feet. A hush rippled when Elias stepped toward the gate. Mara didn't follow. He paused, half-turned. Coming. She shook her head. Not until you say it. Say what? That I belong to myself. His eyes narrowed. You already do. Say it. He held her stare. You belong to yourself. The words slid into the cold air. She let them hang, then brushed sawdust from her torn dress and moved forward. They passed the crowd like a knife through thick cloth. Men shifted aside, some grinning, some scowling. One spat near her boots. Mara stopped short, turned on the man. Problem? The man smirked. Just wonder what 20 buys these days. She stepped closer. Not me? Elias's hand rested on the rifle at his shoulder. Move. The man's grin faltered. He stepped back. Mara shot a glance at Elias. I need that. Maybe I did. They reached the rail where Elias's horse waited. The animal snorted, breath fogging the night. Mara crossed her arms tighter. You plan to carry me off again? No. Then why wait? Because you're bleeding. I can walk. Still bleeding. Not your problem. It is why you stand here. She let out a rough breath. You always talk like you own the ground. I talk like it's cold. Silence stretched. The crowd behind them began to drift, murmurs fading into the dark. Elias took a small flask from his coat, held it out. For the sting. She eyed it. Poison. Whiskey. Same thing. Helps the burn. After a beat, she grabbed it and drank, wincing as the liquid seared her throat. She wiped her mouth with the back of her hand, returned the flask without thanks. Elias swung into saddle. I'm leaving. Good. He looked down at her. You. I'll find my way. Where to? Not yours to ask. He nodded once. Fair. Mara turned toward the road, but her knees buckled. She caught herself against the rail, jaw tight. Elias slid off the horse again. You can barely stand. I said I heard. He stepped close, voice low. You're free to walk away. But the next town's 20 miles. Woods are thick. Men worse. I've met worse. Not tonight. Her eyes flashed. You don't scare me. Good, he said. I'm not trying to. She stared past him toward the black tree line. The night colder now that the crowd was gone. The baby stirred in the sling across his chest, small and restless. Her shoulders sagged. Let me hold her. Elias loosened the sling and passed the child into her arms. The baby whimpered once, then settled against her torn dress. Mara looked down, whispering a name Elias didn't catch. Yours, he asked. Mine, she said. Always. He nodded. We ride slow. I didn't agree. Didn't ask. She shot him a glare, but her grip on the child softened the edge. You're infuriating. So I'm told. She sighed, eyes heavy. Fine. Only until I can stand straight. Good enough. He helped her onto the horse, careful of her wrists. She hissed when his hand brushed the rope burns. Sorry, he said. Don't be. Elias mounted behind her. The horse shifted, sensing the weight. As they turned onto the narrow trail, Mara looked back once. The auction yard shrank to a few dying lanterns and the faint jingle of coins. Her voice carried low. They'll remember this. Let them. They'll come. Maybe. You ready? Yes. She studied him over her shoulder. You talk like death's a neighbor. It is. The wood swallowed them, branches arching overhead. Hoofbeats softened in the thick dirt. Mara adjusted the baby, eyes fixed forward. I'm not staying. I know. I mean it. I heard. You don't care. I care enough to get you clear. She fell quiet, the rhythm of the horse the only sound. Then why bother? Because someone should. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. Wind slid through the pines, cold and clean. Mara's shoulders eased over jaw stayed set. After a long mile, she said, Say my name again. Mara. Louder. Mara. She breathed out, almost a sigh. Keep it that way. I will. The trail bent toward darker hills, and the night closed around them, silent except for the steady beat of hooves and the faint, living weight of the child between them. The night closed around them like wet cloth. The moon was a dull smear behind clouds, casting no light on the trail. Their horse moved steady but slow, hooves sucking at the mud. Every breath of the forest smelled of pine sap and damp stone. Water sounded ahead, low and restless. Mara shifted in the saddle. The baby pressed to her chest. How far? Her voice cracked with exhaustion. Couple miles. Elias said, You said that before. Still true. She sniffed. I don't trust you. Good. Good. Means you're awake. I'm awake because you won't talk. Talking won't fix the dark. Her laugh came sharp and bitter. Maybe it'd keep me from thinking. About what? About why a stranger paid for me. He kept his eyes on the trail. Doesn't matter. It does to me. Then think on it. You're infuriating. So I'm told. The horse stepped into a shallow dip. Cold water splashed against Mara's boots. She hissed. Creek. Yeah. Too dark to cross. We cross anyway. The creek opened before them, black and wide. The water slid quiet but strong, carrying a faint metallic smell. Mara gripped the saddle horn. That looks deep. Not deep enough to stop us. You sure? Yes. You always certain? No, he said, and nudged the horse forward. The horse entered the water with a wet slap. Current tugged at his legs, sending ripples of icy spray onto Mara's skirt. The baby stirred and whimpered. Mara clutched the child tighter. She's cold. We'll be across soon. Soon's not warm. Hold on. The horse waded deeper. The water reached Elias's boots, then higher. A gust of wind should come with the cold, but the air stayed dead still. Yet the surface rippled as if unseen shapes moved beneath. Mara stiffened. Something's in there. Only water. No. Her eyes darted to the black edges where moonlight should be. I saw something. Elias scanned the bank. Nothing but trees, shadows thick as tar. Keep your eyes ahead, he said. I know what I saw. Then look at me, he said, voice low. She turned her head, met his calm stare. Breathe, he said. A long howl cut through the trees. Wolves. Far but not far enough. Mara flinched. They're close. They smell the horse. They smell blood. Elias tightened the reins. Hold steady. The horse stumbled, water rushing around its knees. The baby woke with a sharp cry, high and thin. Mara rocked her gently, murmuring nonsense. The sound carried over the creek, echoing like a warning. Another howl answered, closer this time. Mara's face went pale. Why aren't we running? Running spooks the horse. We keep the pace. You sound like you've done this before. Maybe. Were you? Just a man. Men don't stare down wolves. Some do. Her voice sharpened. Why help? Me? Tell me, or I walk. You won't walk. I will. You can't. You don't know me. I know you're burning up. She blinked confused, then swayed. A wave of heat flushed her cheeks. I'm fine. No, he said. Fever. I said you're shaking. Her grip tightened on the baby. She needs me. She needs you alive. I'm alive. For now. She bit her lip, sweat glistening despite the cold. Don't talk like that. Truth. The horse climbed the far bank, water pouring off its flanks. Mud sucked at its hooves, but it kept moving. Behind him the creek whispered like something alive. Mara's breath quickened. It's still moving. The water? No. The shadows. Elias glanced back. The creek lay black and flat, yet a slow swirl formed where no wind touched. He said nothing. You see it, she whispered. Yes. What is it? Don't know. Lie. No. She shuddered. Feels wrong. It is. They reached a small clearing ringed by pines. Elias dismounted and helped her down. Her skin burned under his hand. He set the baby on a folded blanket, checked the child's tiny breaths, fast but steady. Mara crouched, swaying. Don't take her. I'm not. You will. No. You could. I won't. Her eyes glimmered fever bright. You don't even know me. I know enough. Stop saying that. It's true. I don't want your truths. Then rest. She tried to stand but faltered. He caught her shoulders. Sit, he said. Don't order me. I'm asking. Feels like orders. Then fight me later. Her breath came ragged. You like that? No. You sound sure. I'm sure. Another howl rolled across the trees. Closer. The baby whimpered, small fists curling. Mara tensed. They're hunting. Yes. Because of us. Because of blood. Mine. Maybe. Her eyes met his. Would you kill them? If they try. You've killed before. Yes. Men. Yes. Why? Because they needed killing. She stared, fever bright. You scare me. Good. Why good? Fear keeps you alive. I don't want to live scared. No one does. Wind finally stirred, a sudden breath through the trees. The creek behind them hissed louder, like whispers. Mara clutched the blanket around the baby. It's following. Maybe. You keep saying that. Because maybe's honest. Then what's next? We move when you can ride. I can ride now. You can barely sit. I'm not staying here. Neither am I. The horse shifted, uneasy. Elias scanned the dark, hand on his rifle. Mara's voice thinned. Tell me why you came to that auction. He didn't look at her. Doesn't matter. It matters to me. No answer will fit. Try. I was passing through. That's not a reason. It's all I have. You paid for me. I paid to stop them. You could have walked away. I didn't. Why not? Elias finally met her gaze. Because I saw you. Her lips parted, but no sound came. The baby whimpered again. Elias knelt, adjusting the blanket, his big hands gentle. Mara watched, her fevered eyes softening. You're strange. So I'm told. Not like the men there. I hope not. The creek's whisper faded to a low murmur. The wolves kept their distance for now. Mara shivered. It still feels haunted. It is, he said. You believe in that? I believe in what I see. And what do you see? Shadows that move. She leaned back against a tree, sweat damp on her brow. You'll keep us safe? I'll try. That's not a promise. It's the only kind worth making. Her eyes fluttered, exhaustion dragging her under. Don't let them take her. They won't. You sure? Yes. Her breathing slowed, steadied, sleep tugging her down. The baby nestled close against her chest. Elias stayed crouched, rifle across his knees, eyes fixed on the black water beyond the trees. The creek gleamed faintly, a thin silver wound in the dark, and for a moment he thought he saw a figure standing in the center of the current, still watching. When he blinked, it was gone. The door banged open, rattling on iron hinges. Cold air rushed inside, sharp with pine and the faint bite of smoke. Elias kicked it shut with his boot and set the bar across. The cabin held its own darkness, a single lamp flickering on the rough-hewn table. Mara swayed just past the threshold, the baby bundled against her chest. Her skin glistened with fever sweat. Chair, Elias said. I can stand. You'll fall. I won't. He stepped closer, steady but not touching. Sit. The word landed heavy. She lowered herself onto the nearest chair, jaw clenched. The baby whimpered. Elias stirred the ashes in the stone hearth, coaxing a flame to life. Sparks jumped like nervous insects. He hung a pot of water, the metal clanging in the quiet. Mara shivered, eyes scanning the log walls. Place smells like ghosts. It's pine and smoke, he said. Still smells haunted. Maybe it is. The walls groaned in the cold, board expanding with a slow, aching creak. She flinched. There. Heard that? Wood settling. Sounds like it remembers things. Elias glanced up at the beams. Maybe it does. The baby fussed. Mara rocked her gently, whispering a name Elias couldn't catch. He brought a small tin from a shelf and set it on the table. Need to clean the cuts? I can do it. Your hands shake. I'll manage. You'll spill half the water. Her eyes narrowed. Then do it quick. Elias washed his hands in the steaming pot. The scent of boiled pine filled the air. He gathered a strip of cloth and a dark salve that smelled of earth and herbs. Arm first, he said. She extended her arm. Rope burns red and raw. This'll sting. Everything stings. He dabbed the wound. She hissed. Sorry. Don't be. The walls creaked again, low and long, like a voice under breath. Mara turned sharply. That wasn't wood. Cabin's old. That was a sound. Old would make sounds. She studied him. You really don't scare easy. Not aboards. What about curses? He didn't answer. You believe in them? She pressed. Believe in people. They're worse. The baby stirred again, soft cry breaking the hush. Elias set aside the cloth and fetched a small mug of warm water. She need more. Just comfort, Mara whispered. She held the child close. Humming off key, Elias knelt to check her side. The torn dress revealed a jagged bruise along her ribs. Need to wrap that. I said I'm fine. You're not. I can breathe. Barely. His hands hovered, waiting. Do it, she said finally. He bound the ribs with steady pressure. She bit her lip, but didn't flinch. When he finished, he stepped back. Done. Happy now. Not the word. What word, then? Alive. The lamp guttered as a draft swept through. Shadows stretched across the walls, thin and long. Mara followed their movement. They looked like chains. Shadows, he said. Chains, she insisted. I dreamed them before. Rusted. Heavy. Elias met her gaze. Dreams end. Some don't. You mean curses. She nodded, eyes glassy. Old family ones. My grandmother said we were marked, said we'd always pay someone's price. You believe her? I never wanted to, but here we are. Elias tossed more wood on the fire. Flame snapped. People curse people, not bloodlines. You don't know my blood. I know you breathe like anyone else. Mara looked down at the baby. She deserves better. She's got you. And you? He shrugged. I'm passing through. The baby quieted, eyes half-lidded. Mara whispered, What if I bring the curse to you? I'll live. Or die. Either way. The cabin groaned again, a sound deeper than before. A nail popped in the corner. The baby startled. Mara tightened her hold. That's not just wood. Elias lifted his rifle, scanning the door and window. Could be wind. No wind. He listened. Nothing beyond the slow heartbeat of the fire. Mara shivered. Feels like the walls know us. They know everyone who ever stayed. Who else? Hunters. Trappers. Folks passing. Any leave? Some. Her fever-bright eyes lingered on the shadows. Maybe some stayed forever. Elias lowered the rifle. You need sleep? Sleep means dreams. Dreams mean rest. Dreams mean chains. He crouched to meet her eyes. Chains can't hold what wakes. Her breath slowed. You talk like you've seen this. I've seen nights. Worse than this. Some. He poured a small cup of water and held it out. Drink. She sipped, hands trembling. Taste of smoke. Cabin well. Like drinking old stories. He almost smiled. Maybe. The fire threw a sudden flare, light sweeping the rafters. For a heartbeat shapes danced across the ceiling. Twisted, almost human. Mara gasped. There. Again. Elias looked up. Only smoke curling. Just light. I saw faces. Light tricks. They were screaming. He reached across the table, his rough hand covering hers. You're safe here. Her shoulders sagged. Am I? Yes. You don't sound sure. I'm sure enough. She searched his eyes, then let hers close. Elias stayed by the fire, watching the shadows. The cabin kept its low moan, as if echoing her dreams. Hours passed. The baby slept soundly. Mara stirred only once, whispering words he couldn't catch. Chains may be a name. Elias added another log, the crack of it loud in the stillness. From outside came a faint crunch of snow or earth. He rose, silent, and moved to the window. Nothing but the black sweep of trees. He returned to the table, rifle across his knees. The cabin seemed to breathe with him, every groan like a memory surfacing. Mara murmured in sleep, "Don't take her." Elias answered softly, "No one will." The walls gave a slow, aching sigh, as if they remembered. Another promise long broken. The fire popped again, scattering sparks across the dark. Elias stayed awake, eyes on the door, while the old cabin whispered its echoes into the restless night. Morning frost glazed clearing, in a pale shimmer. Smoke from the cabin chimney hung low, unwilling to rise. Inside, the fire had burned to coals, their faint red glow the only warmth. A knock slammed against the door, hard, sharp, like a rifle shot. Mara jolted awake. The baby stirred and whimpered. Elias already stood, rifle in hand. "Who?" she began. "Stay quiet," he said. The knock came again, heavier. Elias unbarred the door, but didn't open it. "State it." A voice answered, cold and clear. "Governor's men. Open." Mara's breath caught. "They found us." Elias glanced at her, eyes flat, back corner. "Hold the baby." She obeyed, clutching the child tight. He lifted the bar and pulled the door just enough to see. Two riders sat astride dark horses, frost crusting their coats. Both wore deputy badges dulled by road dust, rifles slung across their shoulders. The taller one leaned forward. "We're looking for a woman, name of Mara Lorne, and an infant girl." Elias didn't move. "Why?" "Governor's orders. Property of the state till debts are paid." "She's not property." The shorter deputy spat into the snow. "Paper says otherwise." Elias's rifle stayed low, but ready. "Paper lies." The tall deputy narrowed his eyes. "You that mountain man bought her?" "I paid to stop a crime." "That's not how the governor sees it." "Governor's wrong." The shorter deputy shifted in his saddle. "Hand her over. We ride quiet. No trouble." "No," Elias said. The taller deputy's voice sharpened. "Not a request." "Neither is mine." From inside the cabin came the baby's sudden wail, thin, piercing, alive. Both deputies straightened, eyes flicking toward the sound. Mara rocked the child, whispering, "Shuh, shuh." Elias stepped into the doorway, blocking their view. "You hear a child. You leave it be." The tall deputy's hand drifted toward his rifle. "That child state property same as the mother." Elias's voice turned to stone. "Not today." The shorter deputy scowled. "You aim to stand against the governor?" "I aim to stand." Snow cracked under the horses, shifting weight. Frosted breath smoked from their nostrils. The tall deputy tilted his head. "You armed?" Elias lifted the rifle slightly. "Enough. Shoot us, and you'll have the whole guard on you." "Maybe. You think you can hide in these woods." "I don't hide." The baby cried louder. Mara whispered, "Please." Elias didn't turn. "It's fine." The shorter deputy's jaw tightened. "A man can die for less than theft." "Then bring more men," Elias said. The tall deputy studied him, eyes like flint. "You think you're the law?" "No, just not afraid of it." Wind scraped the cabin walls, dry and sharp. The shorter deputy spat again. "Last chance." "No," Elias said. A long pause stretched. Only the baby's cry filled the clearing. The tall deputy shifted in his saddle. "Slow. Governor don't like trouble." "Then he should stay home," Elias replied. The deputy's gaze flicked to the snow, then back. "You keep this up, mountain man, you'll hang." Elias's grip on the rifle never wavered. "I've heard worse." The shorter deputy leaned forward, voice low. "We can burn this cabin to the ground." Won't take much. Elias stepped fully outside, boots crunching the frost. Try it. Mara pressed her back to the wall, heart hammering. The baby's cries softened to small hiccups. The taller deputy raised a gloved hand toward his partner. Hold. Silence settled heavy, broken only by the creak of leather and the slow breath of horses. Finally, the tall one said, "Governor, don't pay us enough to die on a porch." The shorter deputy scowled. "We'll be back." Elias's eyes stayed hard. "Come with more men. Bring a map. It won't help." The tall deputy pulled his reins. The horses stamped, tossing frost into the air. "This ain't over," the deputy said. "Most things ain't," Elias replied. They turned their horses. Hooves cracked the frozen earth as they rode off, their silhouettes fading into gray timberline. Elias watched until the woods swallowed them. Inside, Mara whispered, "They'll return." "Maybe," he said. "They'll bring more. Likely. And kill you." He set the rifle against the wall. "Maybe." She tightened her hold on the baby. "Why didn't you give us up?" Elias closed the door, setting the bar. "Not theirs to take. You don't even know me." "I know enough." "You keep saying that," she snapped. "Enough for what?" "For this." She stared at him, breathing fast. "You could have died." "I still could." "Doesn't that matter?" "Everything matters. Doesn't change what's right." The baby whimpered again. Mara hushed her, rocking gently. "They'll burn this cabin," she said. "Then we'll move." "Yes." "You'd leave your home for strangers?" "Yes." She shook her head. "I don't understand you." "You don't need to." "I need to if we're to survive." Elias crouched by the fire, feeding the coals. "Survival's just doing the next thing. Talking comes after." She stared at the frosted window, the pale morning pressing close. "I can't let you die for me. You can't stop it either way." Her voice hardened. "Then we run before nightfall." He looked up, met her eyes. "We'll run smart, not scared." "You think we can win?" "I think we keep moving until we do." Mara hugged the baby tighter, her breath slowing with the child's. Outside, the cold light sharpened. No birds called. The frost on the trees glimmered like a warning. Elias checked his rifle and the few supplies stacked by the door. Mara finally said, "They'll remember your face." "Let them. They'll never stop." He shrugged. "Neither will we." The cabin settled back into silence. The baby's soft breathing the only sound as the morning frost thickened, and the governor's threat lingered like smoke in the brittle air. Dust drifted like dry snow with every thud of boots above. The root cellar smelled of earth and old onions, the air heavy and close. A single lantern guttered in the corner, throwing a weak orange circle across packed dirt walls. Elias crouched near the ladder, rifle resting across his knees. Every creak from the cabin above snapped through the dark like a snapped bone. Mara sat on a low crate, the baby wrapped tight in a worn blanket against her chest. The child slept despite the noise, small breasts warm against her skin. Mara whispered, "How many?" "3, Elias said. "Governor's men?" "Most likely. They'll find the door." "Maybe." "You always say that." "It's honest." Another heavy step sounded overhead. Dust sifted down on Elias's shoulders. He didn't move. Mara drew the blanket tighter. "Smells like graves down here." "It's a root cellar." "Still smells like death." Silence stretched. Then she said, "I have farmed once." Elias kept his eyes on the ceiling. "Where?" "Doesn't matter now. Land with red clay. Cornfields that sang when the wind hit right." The boards above creaked again. A voice muffled through the floor. "Check the shed." Mara lowered her voice further. "We built the house ourselves. My husband and me spent 2 winters just cutting trees. Thought it would stand forever. What happened? Fire. Night of dry lightning. But that wasn't the worst." Bootsteps scraped across the cabin floor. Another man said, "Nothing here." Mara swallowed. "After the fire, we went to town for help. Sheriff came out with his papers and his grin. Said we owed tax on land we couldn't live on. My husband argued. Sheriff said law was law. Elias's jaw tightened. Law's a word for thieves. He promised he'd work it out if I came by later. Alone. Elias's eyes flicked to her, then back to the ceiling. I refused. Next morning, my husband was arrested for theft. Nothing missing. Just a decree signed by the governor's own hand. They hanged him before the week was out. The lantern hissed as a moth scorched its wings. Mara kept talking, voice brittle. I was 3 months with child. Sheriff said the baby be property of the state until I paid debt for land already ash. Said the governor like strong stock. The baby stirred with a soft whimper. Mara rocked gently. I ran. Every mile I ran, they followed. Papers and men with badges. Always behind me. Above, the floorboards creaked again. Someone muttered, Cold trail. Let's move on. Elias let out a slow breath through his nose. Governor's law is a noose. Sheriff wore like a crown. Name? Elias asked. Brenner, she said. Big man. Wide smile. Smelled of whiskey. Elias's fingers tightened on the rifle. I know the type. They'll keep hunting, Mara whispered. For her. For me. They won't stop while they breathe, Elias said. She met his eyes in the lantern's weak glow. You've killed men like that? Yes. For what? For less. Would you kill them for me? He hesitated. If it comes to it. Would that matter? Would to me? A thud overhead made them both freeze. Dust rained down, soft as ash. Then the sound of boots receded toward the yard. Mara exhaled, trembling. I hate hiding. Better than dying, Elias said. I've been dying since the fire. Not today. She looked at him, eyes raw. Why are you helping? Really? Elias kept his voice low. Lost someone once. Didn't move fast enough. Not again. Who? My sister. Town said fever. I saw the bruises. Mara's breath caught. I'm sorry. Don't be. Just a reason I keep moving. Above them, a distant whinny and the crunch of retreating hooves. Then silence. Elias tilted his head, listening. They're gone. For now, she said. He stood, rifle ready. We wait a bit longer. Mara rocked the baby, eyes unfocused. If we die, she has no name on paper. Only mine. That's enough. Elias nodded once. Enough? The lantern sputtered. Darkness edged closer, smelling of earth and quiet rage. They waited, breath slow, while the world above cooled into night. Mist slid between the trunks like pale smoke. The moon hung thin and cold, barely touching the forest floor. Elias led the horse along a narrow deer trail, each step muffled by wet needles. Mara rode behind him with the baby wrapped tight, her breath showing in faint clouds. Branches groaned overhead. The night smelled of pine and iron. Where are we headed? She whispered. High Ridge, he said. Rock spines the governor's men won't cross easy. Why not? Too many ways to vanish. The baby stirred, gave a soft cry. Mara tightened the blanket. She's cold. Hold her close, Elias said without turning. A distant howl threaded through the mist. Not a dog. Wolves, low and hungry. Mara flinched. They're near. They keep distance unless starving, he said. You sure? No. They moved on. The trees closed in, trunks black against drifting gray. Mist swirled under Elias's boots like restless water. Mara broke the silence. You know too much about hiding. Elias grunted. Learned young. Because of the governor? He didn't answer. I told you my story, she said, voice sharper. Fair's fair. He stopped at a fork in the trail. Listened. Picked the left path. My brother, he said finally. Mara waited. He was 17. Elias continued, voice low. Strong, loud. Thought he could out-talk the governor's men. Spoke against new taxes. Called it theft. Sheriff said he incited rebellion. What happened? They hanged him on a sycamore outside the courthouse. Left him there 3 days. Mara's breath caught. I'm sorry. Don't be. Town cheered. Called it justice. He stepped over a fallen log. I learned silence that day. The mist thickened, curling like breath from unseen mouths. A pine creaked as if answering. Mara's voice softened. Your parents? Gone before that. Fever. So you were alone? Yes. Another howl came closer. Elias scanned the dark. Keep quiet now. They pressed deeper into the woods. The trail narrowed until branches clawed at their clothes. The horse snorted, ears twitching. Mara whispered, feels like the forest is watching. It is, he said. Don't joke. Not joking. Something cracked to their right, sharp, deliberate. Elias raised his rifle, eyes searching the mist. Nothing moved. The baby whimpered. Mara held her tighter. If it's them, not men, Elias said. Too light. Wolf. Maybe. They waited, breathing with the trees. The forest answered only with distant dripping water. Elias lowered the rifle. Move. They climbed a slow incline, the mist clinging heavier. Every pine trunk seemed to lean inward, hollow knots like eyes. Mara asked, why didn't you leave this land after your brother? He kept walking. Where? Would I go? Anywhere. Anywhere's the same. Different badge, same law. She let out a shaky laugh. Sounds like you've thought this through. I've lived it through. The trail bent toward a shallow creek. Black water slid over slick stones. Mist hovered like a low roof. Elias tested the depth with his boot. Shallow but cold. Keep the blanket tight. He helped her down. The baby stirred as a horse stepped into the water. The creek hissed around their ankles, bitter cold. Mist rolled over them, damp as breath. Halfway across, Mara whispered, does it ever stop? The running? Not if they hunt. Elias said, do you ever want to stop anyway? He looked at her, eyes shadowed. One and aren't the same. A branch snapped behind them. Elias spun, rifle ready. Only mist and silent trees. They climbed the far bank, boots sinking into wet moss. The forest beyond felt denser, darker. Pines loomed like black pillars. Mara shivered. Feels haunted. It remembers. Elias said, remembers what? All of us who bled here. She fell quiet. They pushed through a stand of deadfall. Needles whispered against their coats, soft but endless. Every sound carried too far. Mara finally said, do you ever dream of him? Your brother? Every night. Elias answered. What do you see? He's still hanging. Wind swings him. He looks at me and doesn't speak. She touched the baby's head. I see the fire every time I close my eyes. The sheriff's grin. Elias glanced back. Dreams keep the truth from rotting. Or they rot us, she said. Maybe both. The trail climbed again, steep and slick. Mist thinned as the ground rose, revealing scattered moonlight through the trees. A cold wind slipped through, sharp as glass. Elias paused, scanning the slope. We're close to the ridge. Safe there? Safer. A sudden gust shook the pines. Needles rained like black snow. A low moan swelled through the forest, more than wind, less than voice. Mara gripped the saddle. Tell me that's just weather. Elias listened, jaw tight. Forest talking. To us? To anything alive. The baby whimpered, then settled. They climbed the last stretch in silence. At the top, a clearing opened to the pale sky. Below them the forest stretched, a sea of mist and shadow. Elias tied the horse to a stump and scanned the dark valley. No lanterns, no riders, only endless gray. Mara stepped beside him. Baby pressed close. We keep going? North Ridge. Caverns there. Hard to track. She looked at him. Why help me when you could disappear alone? He didn't answer at first. Then, because no one helped my brother. Mara blinked back sudden tears. You think we can win? We can live, he said. That's enough for now. The wind shifted, carrying the distant echo of a wolf's howl, long and mournful. Mist curled upward from a valley, swallowing the sound. Elias checked his rifle, then the sky. We move at first light. Mara nodded, holding the baby tight. We move, she whispered. They stood side by side beneath the hollow pines, the night thick with the weight of all it remembered, and waited for dawn. The clearing opened like a wound in the trees, ringed with stones blackened by fires long dead. Mist clung to the ground, carrying the sour smell of old smoke. Elias led the horse inside and let the reins fall. This is it, he said. Mara stepped carefully. Baby held close. What was here? Hunter's camp. Long gone. The air felt heavy, the soil dark with forgotten ash. He gathered fallen branches, striking flint until sparks hissed against the damp. Soon a small fire caught, flames lifting embers into the cold night. Mara sat near the stones, blanket around the baby. It smells like ghosts. Every fire leaves one, Elias said. The baby stirred, small fists pushing against the cloth. Mara loosened the wrap, letting warm light fall on the child's soft face. She needs milk soon, Mara said. Horse's grain. We'll rest, Elias replied. The flames crackled, throwing quick shadows that jumped across the black stones. Above them, stars shone hard and bright, cold as river glass. Mara watched the sparks drift upward. Feels strange to stop moving. Even wolves sleep, Elias said. Do you? Sometimes. She almost smiled. You sound like you're made of stone. Maybe I am. The baby gave a soft sigh, eyelids fluttering. Elias crouched near, surprising her by holding out his arms. Let me? Mara hesitated, then passed the child over. Elias cradled the baby with unexpected care, rocking gently. The firelight brushed his face, softening the hard lines. She likes you, Mara said. She likes warmth, he replied. Mara hugged her knees, watching. I haven't seen a man hold her since. She stopped. Since the father? Her eyes glinted in the firelight. Yes. What was his name? Caleb. Elias nodded once, gaze fixed on the baby. Tell me about him. He had a laugh that shook walls, she said quietly. Could build anything with his hands. Said the governor's taxes were robbery. That's why they killed him. Governor kills what he fears, Elias said. He wasn't afraid of Caleb, just wanted him silent. That's fear. Mara stared into the fire. I still see the rope. I still smell the smoke from our farm. Some nights I hear Caleb calling, but it's only the wind. Elias rocked the child, the motion slow and steady. My brother looked the same at the end. Rope burns on his neck, eyes wide like he still couldn't believe it. She turned to him. You told me he was hanged. What was his name? Jonas. Older? Younger. The flame snapped, a sudden spark leaping toward the stars. Mara whispered, Do you dream of revenge? Yes. Every night. Every breath. Her voice grew fierce. Me too. Elias looked at her across the fire. What would you do? I'd burn the governor's house while he slept, she said. I'd make him watch the walls fall. He nodded slowly. Good plan. You don't laugh. No reason to. What about you? She asked. I think about walking into his hall with a rifle. Elias said. I think about silence afterward. No cheers. Just quiet. Mara's eyes narrowed. Would it end the hunt? Not the hunt. Just him. That's enough, she said. They both watched the fire, listening to the hiss of sap and the distant call of an owl. Mara's voice softened. You saved us. Why keep going? Elias adjusted the baby, who had fallen asleep against his chest. Because there's no end if we stop. You could live hidden. I've hidden before. Law always finds a new name to hang. She touched a charred stone, its surface rough and cold. Sometimes I wonder if vengeance keeps me alive or kills me slow. Both, he said. She looked at him. Does it ever feel lighter? No. The fire popped, a brief shower of sparks rising like tiny ghosts into the star-thick sky. Mara tilted her head back. Those stars don't care about us. They've seen worse, Elias said. I almost smiled when you rocked her, she admitted. He raised an eyebrow. Almost. That's all I have left right now. Almost. Elias gave the faintest hint of a grin. Fair enough. She watched him for a long time. "If we ever get the chance, if we stand in front of the governor, would you pull the trigger?" "Yes," he said without hesitation. "And if I did it first, I'd make sure you live to leave." The baby stirred, a tiny sigh against his chest. He handed her back carefully. "She sleeps heavy," he said. "Like her father," Mara whispered. They sat in silence, the fire's glow painting their faces gold and shadow. The woods around them murmured with unseen life, but nothing crossed a circle of ash. Mara finally said, "We'll need a plan." "We'll find one," Elias replied. "Soon. Soon." The stars wheeled overhead, endless and cold. The fire burned low, embers pulsing like quiet hearts. Mara laid the baby beside her, eyes still on Elias. "Thank you," she said softly. "For what?" "For staying." He met her gaze. "Not done yet." A breeze swept through, stirring the ash and lifting a ribbon of sparks. They rose into the night, flickering like lost souls, and vanished among the indifferent stars. Gunfire cracked through the pines like splitting ice. Snow leapt from tree trunks in pale bursts. Elias dropped to a knee behind a fallen log, rifle up, eyes sharp. "Down!" he barked. Mara threw herself into the drift, clutching the baby tight against her chest. The child wailed, a thin, piercing cry lost beneath the next volley. 3 men, north side. Elias shouted. "A." Bullet hissed past, splintering bark. He fired back one shot, clean. A scream answered, then silence. Mara crawled to the shelter of a thick pine. "How many left?" 2. "Maybe more." Elias said, "They found us." "Doesn't matter now." The baby's cries climbed higher. Mara pressed her lips to the child's head. "Stay with me," she whispered. Snow shivered from a branch overhead. Another shot rang. Elias ducked, rolled, fired again. A voice called from the dark. "Give the woman over and the child lives." Elias shouted back, "Come take her." Silence. Then the crunch of boots circling. Mara met his eyes. "They'll flank us." "Not if we move first." "How?" He pointed to a narrow ridge. "Smoke them down. Follow close." Mara nodded, jaw tight. She shifted the baby into a sling across her back, freeing her hands. "Ready?" Elias asked. "Yes." They sprinted through knee-high snow, white powder biting their legs. Gunfire spat behind them. Mara ducked, heart pounding. Elias fired once, twice. A shout of pain echoed. From the ridge they saw shapes moving among the trees, dark coats, rifles glinting. Elias yanked a small flask from his coat and splashed kerosene across a dead pine cluster. He struck flint, sparks catching fast in the drying needles. Flames leapt high, smoke curling black against the snow. The men below shouted. One fired blindly. Elias pulled Mara down behind a rock. "Smoke's ours now," he said. The fire roared, heat biting the frozen air. Smoke rolled through the pines, thick and choking. A figure lunged from the haze. Elias swung his rifle, cracked it hard across the man's jaw. The deputy fell, rifle skidding. Another charged, pistol raised. Mara snatched the fallen rifle and fired. The man jerked back, a red bloom across his coat, and crumpled into the snow. Her breath came ragged. "I hit him." "You're still alive," Elias said. The baby whimpered against her back, small and terrified. Boot steps pounded from the smoke. 2 more men. Elias shoved Mara aside and fired twice. One man screamed and fell. The other vanished into the trees. Silence followed, broken only by the crackle of flames and the hiss of snow melting on hot pine. Mara gasped. "Is it over?" "Not yet." They waited, rifles ready. The forest roared with fire, smoke swallowing the stars. A faint crunch behind them. Too close. Elias spun. A deputy lunged from a drift, knife flashing. Elias grabbed the blade's wrist. They struggled, snow spraying. Mara aimed but couldn't shoot without hitting him. Elias grunted, twisting the man's arm until the knife fell. He slammed the deputy's head into a tree trunk. The body slid down, still, Elias wiped blood from his cheek. Now it's over. Mara stood shaking, the rifle slipping in her grip. How many? Enough. The baby began to cry again, high and sharp. Elias lowered his rifle, scanning the smoke-choked clearing. Governor sent his best. Didn't work. Mara stared at the burning pines. Flames clawing at the dark sky. They'll send more. Let them. Her voice trembled but held steel. We killed them. They chose it, Elias said. She adjusted the sling, feeling the baby's warmth. I never thought I'd fight like that. You did, he said. The fire spread, sparks leaping from tree to tree. Snow hissed and steamed. The night smelled of pine pitch and blood. Mara whispered, the forest sound alive. It is, Elias said. They moved through the smoky clearing, stepping over bodies half buried in snow. Faces pale, eyes open to the burning sky. Mara paused by one man, his badge glinting. Governor's law, she muttered. All ash now. Elias touched her shoulder. We need distance before dawn. She met his eyes, breathing hard. Where? Higher ground. Ridge past the creek. She nodded. Let's go. The baby quieted as they left the clearing. Behind them, flames roared, painting the night in violent orange. Snow fell in soft flakes, hissing as it met the fire. The scent of smoke clung to their clothes, to their hair, to everything they carried. Mara looked back once. They'll call this murder. They call my brother's hanging justice, Elias said. Her voice sharpened. Then let them choke on their words. They pushed deeper into the woods, their breaths white in the cold. The forest moaned as trees cracked and fell under the heat. Smoke curled upward like black spirits, blotting out the stars. Elias led the way, rifle ready, eyes hard. Mara followed. Baby pressed close, the echo of gunfire still ringing in her ears. Behind them, the pines burned bright against the winter night, a savage circle of ash where lawmen had fallen, and the forest itself had roared its dark approval. Dawn bled slow across the ridgeline, pale light cutting through a haze of smoke. The cabin lay in ruin, half a roof, black timbers hissing where frost met dying embers. The air tasted of char and coal pine. Elias stood near the doorway, boots sunk in ash. He held the baby close against his chest. The small body warmed despite the morning chill. Her breathing was steady, soft as falling snow. Mara emerged from behind a splintered wall. Her coat was scorched, hair tangled with soot. She paused at the threshold, eyes scanning the wreckage. It's gone, she said quietly. Most of it, Elias replied. She stepped inside what remained of the cabin. Floorboards creaked under her boots. Smoke curled from cracks like fading spirits. We should leave before someone follows the smoke. We will, Elias said. She moved to the center of the room, stopping where their small fire had once burned bright. You think they'll come back? They won't find enough to care about, he said. Mara knelt, brushing a blackened board with her fingers. Ash smeared her skin. Feels like we never belonged here anyway. Elias shifted the baby in his arms. The child stirred, tiny fists pressing against his coat. She belongs, he said. Mara looked up. Belongs where? Wherever we keep her safe. Silence settled between them. Outside, a raven called once, then again, its voice rough in thin air. Mara stood and faced him. What will we call her? Elias lowered his gaze to the infant. Her eyes fluttered open, dark and bright in the dim light. You choose, he said. Mara stepped closer. I don't know anymore. Every name I once loved is buried. Then we give her a name no one can bury, Elias said. Mara studied the child's face, soft and unmarked by the world's violence. Maybe hope, she whispered. Elias shook his head gently. Hope's a word men break. Mara frowned. Then what? He looked toward the pale mountains beyond the broken doorway. Ash, he said after a long pause. Mara blinked. Ash. She was born of it, survived it. Ash feeds the soil, brings new life. Mara's lips parted, then closed. Ash, she repeated softly. Yes. The baby stirred again, a faint squeak that sounded almost like agreement. Elias smiled, brief but real. "Ash," he said to the child, his voice low. "Ashlorn." Mara exhaled, a breath that felt like release. "Ashlorn," she echoed. The dawn light grew stronger, slipping through gaps in the roof, catching the child's face in a wash of silver. Elias glanced at the mountains. "We should move before the sun climbs." "Where?" Mara asked. "Higher," he said. "Past the ridge. There are caves beyond the hollow pines." Mara stepped beside him, close enough to feel the baby's warmth. "And after that, we keep moving." She looked at him. "And if they come again, we meet them." Mara nodded slowly. "We already did." "Yes," he said. The baby yawned, small mouth opening like a tiny dawn of her own. Elias adjusted the blanket, tucking her closer. Mara touched the child's hand. "She doesn't know what happened. She knows we stayed alive." Elias said. Mara met his eyes. "We killed men." "They chose their side," he replied. "Does it ever stop echoing?" she asked. He looked down at the blackened floor. "No, you just learn to carry it." She studied him, the hard lines of his face softened by morning light. "You've carried it before." "Yes." "And you still keep going." "Yes." Mara's voice trembled. "I'm not sure I can." "You already have," he said. The baby shifted, a faint whimper rising. Elias swayed gently, murmuring words Mara couldn't catch. The sound was low, almost a hum, and the child quieted. Mara watched him, a strange calm settling over her. "You're good with her." "She's easy," he said. "She doesn't lie." Mara almost smiled. "Neither do you." The wind stirred outside, carrying the scent of pine and distant snow. Through the gaps in the wall, the mountains stood stark and endless, their peaks catching first light. Mara wrapped her coat tighter. "The governor will send more." "Maybe," Elias said. "And we'll keep running? We'll keep living." She stepped closer until their shoulders touched. "I don't know if that's victory." "It's enough," he said. They stood together in the wreckage, the baby warm between them. The fire's last embers faded to gray. Mara whispered, "Ash and bone." Elias looked at her. "What?" "That's what we are now. Ash and bone." He nodded slowly. "Better than chains." The raven called again from a distant tree, a rough call that cut through the quiet. The sound echoed across the clearing like a warning and a promise. Mara took one last look at the cabin. Charred beams reached toward the sky like black ribs. Smoke drifted upward, thin and fading. Elias shifted the baby and stepped toward the open door. "Time to go." Mara followed, her boots crunching over burnt wood. Outside, frost gleamed across the clearing. The cold bit their faces, but the rising sun gave a thin warmth. They crossed the clearing together, leaving the smoldering cabin behind. The mountains loomed ahead, vast and silent, holding their secrets in endless stone. Mara glanced back once more. "No one will know." "The mountains will," Elias said. She nodded, her eyes on the jagged horizon. "Let them keep it." They climbed the first slope as light spilled over the peaks. Behind them, the cabin whispered its last smoke into the sky, a thin gray ribbon fading into morning. Ahead, the path wound upward through frost and pine, carrying them toward a future shaped by fire, silence, and the quiet strength of survival.